Ademola Oshodi joins us now. He's a policy analyst, and let's look at the final part of our review this morning of the just concluded presidential elections. Morning, thank you for coming on today.
Good morning.
Well, what a race an election it was, it turned out to be, but you were also observing things from the sidelines. What are the things that you noticed in terms of how the elections panned out?
Well, you can't beat peace and stability. I mean, that was the ultimate. A lot of people didn't see that. A lot of people felt there will be some sort of conflict, friction, certain parts of the country. Maybe it's because a certain candidate won, or maybe because the president conceded. So that's probably the best thing that came out of this news. The second best thing is obviously the use of technology. The use of technology, the card reader, even the permanent voter's card. That has been one of the probably success of this election. And I would say also the fact that there's this enormous amount of awareness, this tremendous, maybe because it's so competitive. I mean, you have channels, you have other medium, churning out a lot of advertisements for politicians, radio station. You have a lot of people from social awareness, social media community involved. It's never happened like this before, and hopefully this continues and gives us a better democracy. Because democracy is not just elections; it goes beyond just election. And we focus too much on election. It's issues of rule of law, issues of a good security apparatus, issue of the media, the fourth realm, things like that. Politicians holding up to their word. We also have awareness. So it's quite encompassing. And this is a very important phase, but it's not the end of the road. We need to ensure that institutions are basically solidified and basically people are held accountable. It's very important. That's what democracy. So you vote these people in with this trust, with this idea that they're going to. It doesn't end there, and you need to hold them accountable. They need to make sure that if they mess up, there's a right judiciary in place to hold them accountable. To if they have to be kicked out, impeached, etc.
That notwithstanding, do you think it's a given that the vote will count next time out, next weekend?
I believe so. I think we are on a good trajectory. We are on a good path right now regarding that. There's a lot of focus. I mean, the president has set the standard. If you lose, you concede. Hopefully, at a free and fair contest. Kayode Fayemi also did that. He was the first, actually, in recent time to actually concede. If not only the first Nigerian politician to willingly concede shortly after the vote. So the President Jonathan took that a little further on a national and international level. So I believe that this governorship election will also be very competitive, especially in some states. But that standard has been given, has been set, and we hope that they build upon it. I believe they will. There will be some areas, but generally speaking.
Do we expect that since he's conceded, and since Ekiti governor also did it, do we expect that they will just do it? Or as you said, look, democracy, it's a process.
Yes.
We shouldn't just sit back and expect them, or you think, no, having done this, others will.
Yes, well, there's about 36 governors, so 36 states people are competing for. So we're hoping we have, all these people competing in each state to be readily enough to concede if they lose. But Jonathan is just one person. We have maybe over 100 people contesting for governorship around the states, around the country. So, we hope that there will be some, free and fair contest and some concession. But I believe that the standard has been set, and that's the best we can hope for. That somebody has basically come out and say, look, this is how it should be done. And if you have any problems, go to the courts. Don't go kill yourself on the streets.
You said something about having better infrastructures in place, and I'm trying to look at what has happened on the continent and try to relate that to Nigeria. We just realized that President Jonathan is the 5th African leader to have conceded defeat in any election. Starting off with what's his name again, Aden Abdullah Osman Da of Somalia, and also you saw how much of years Kenneth Counter stayed before he lost to Frederick Chiluba in that particular election.
And Kerekou in Benin, just next door.
In Benin here. Yeah. And we thought that this was never going to happen in Nigeria. Infrastructure, institutions being built and strengthened. Now we're getting to see that sometimes we need some individuals to activate it.
Yes, and this is what we have. I also believe that we should also give honor to former Governor of Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi. He did that also. I mean, it was quite unusual for him to actually concede, even against the wishes of his party in certain respect. But in Africa, this is something, and it's so important because Nigeria is the giant of Africa. We have the largest population, we have the largest economy, we lead morally. We are vying for the seat of the United Nations. This is going to be good for us. People were complaining when Obama went to Ghana next door and didn't show up in Nigeria. It's like, how could he miss Nigeria? He missed Nigeria because we did not have good elections. Now we have a good election. We have a candidate that conceded and everything went well. There was no mass killing or mass rioting. So I expect, and I'm predicting here, I expect President Obama to come and visit Nigeria and pat us on the back. I said, this is what we want.
Don't you think that's a tad patronizing? I mean, what we need endorsement of some sort from the United States. Why do we need that?
We do that because they are the standard of world democracy. That's number one. Number two, we failed many times in our elections and the outcome of our election. So if we have the foreign election observers coming here to validate our elections, they've been doing that since 1999 and previous elections. So obviously we recognize their importance, we recognize their role. So if we have somebody endorsing it, whether it's an organization or a very important individual like the world leader, President Obama, it's definitely good. And we can try and play that down, but we all know how important it is.
But they're observing or validation has no place in our laws. If we choose to do whatever we want, those validations, do they have any direct bearing on how we conduct ourselves? Well,
they do have effect on investors. They have effect on how we're viewed around the world. I mean, obviously we can kick them out. I think Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe didn't allow foreign election observers. And people basically looked at his election and questioned it, whether Obasanjo said it was good or not. It was not validated by the independent foreign body. It's not, of course, it's not the law, but it's good PR. It's good for the system. You can have, if a foreign person can come and say, look, these two guys competing for elections. We believe that election was free and fair, so you should just shut up. Or that election was not free and fair, and you have a right, basically tells them they have a right to contest it in courts or whatever. So that validation is very important, as much as it in many ways maybe undermines sovereignty. It's definitely good for the image and for economic purposes.
So what kind of effect can this have on the next election, April 11th?
Well, what we will do with the election observers, some of them are still around. They're more concerned, obviously, about the presidential one we just did. But we still have some in very hotly contested states around the country. I think it's more like areas of the Niger Delta and I think Lagos and probably some in the Middle Belt area. But yes, they're still around, but you won't hear them as much, based on the level of interest in state election. It's an internal thing. So, they're more concerned about how we project ourselves.
Do you agree with those who say, look, in order for us to start setting the agenda for the National Assembly, one, they must help consolidate the process by amending the Electoral Act to the extent that electronic voting should be introduced and people should be able to vote wherever they are?
I don't know how people can vote wherever they are. If you need to vote,
because we had a lot of people who were sending messages concerning why they relocated, they registered somewhere, couldn't get the PVC or collected the PVC, but having now relocated, they still have the PVCs, but they can't vote where they
Yes, that's the issue with INEC. INEC needs to make that process easy. So when you move addresses, you can actually change that. You change your address to the INEC system, so you can vote in that new location. But just like is done in best, international practices, there is a cutoff period. For instance, in Canada, if you register in one province and the next close to election time you're in another province, they won't let you vote if you didn't meet that cutoff period. So you need to be reside there. And many times they even want you to make sure that you're a taxpayer there, you have an address there. Not just because you went to stay in a certain place in the country, therefore you must vote. You must show some sort of presence in that new place. So INEC needs to ensure that process is it's faster, it's smoother, and there is obviously a cut-off period. So you can say, yes, this is where I reside now, therefore I can be represented here.
All right, that's where we'll have to let it go today. Thank you very much indeed for coming on. Demola Oshodi is a policy analyst. We will be back in just a moment. Join us again.